Welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. Today it's time for a best-of-3 series of Protoss versus Zerg, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on Data C. Spawning right here in the top right-hand corner, playing with the blue Protoss probes, we have none other than hero. His opponent in the opposite corner with the red Zerg drones, we are looking at Reynor's main hatchery. Now, I think that this should be a very interesting match. So, a couple reasons as to why. First and foremost, Reynor, of course, has been playing a lot of Protoss himself. Despite the fact that he's really good at the Zerg versus Zerg matchup, whenever he currently has to face off against a Zerg player in a tournament, he seems to favor playing Protoss instead. So, rather than playing Zerg, he likes to play a little bit of PvZ. That being said, the style that Reynor plays most of the time when he plays Protoss against Zerg is the style that hero came up with. So hero some time ago popularized this very low gas mass gateway approach, where basically you just flood the map with tons of zealots and stalkers. And hero, I mean, he's very good at that style, but Reynor is obviously the one that's been studying this style quite a bit as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's, definitely looked at the details of exactly what hero does in his own games. Meaning that if there's anyone familiar with the way that hero currently plays, it's probably Reynor, right? He understands this matchup from both perspectives. Anyway, secondly, I think another reason as to why this should be a fun match is because I casted a game between these two not too long ago. That was about a half-hour-long match of Zerg versus Protoss, so a rather long game. And I don't really want to spoil it for you, but let's just say that one of these two guys made a gigantic blunder. If you want to watch that game, I'll go ahead and post a link to it down below the description of this video, so you can go check it out after this best-of-3 series concludes. Now, I am fully expecting that mass gateway style from hero in this series as well. I think it's just his bread and butter. It's incredibly popular right now and very, very strong as well. But whenever hero plays that style, he always does it ever so slightly differently. Be it with like the first couple units that he makes out of the gateway, be it the way that he like spends his chrono boosts. Basically, everything always shows up at an ever so slightly different time, and it's quite difficult for Zerg players to figure out exactly how many drones they can really get away with, and when they need to start making their army, when they should make their spore crawlers and all the rest of it. Either way, it's gonna be that Stargate. So normally what hero does is he gets a bunch of oracles out. So sometimes he goes 1 oracle, sometimes he goes 2, sometimes he goes 3. I've seen him go up to like 8. Personally, I'm a big fan of that mass oracle style, especially when Zergs go for like Ravager, Ling, Queen, right? We see that quite a bit where, the oracles, they stay alive for a long time, and they can actually be incredibly helpful later on into the game as well. Anyhow, he'll probably go for the Twilight Council as a follow-up. He'll add on a very quick third nexus in either of these two locations, and that's when the game usually gets started for real. Now we'll see how many drones Reynor wants to make. So obviously, as a Zerg player, right, you can make a lot of workers all at once. You really want to try and produce as many drones as possible before you put down your spore crawlers. So ideally, you don't make anything. Ideally, you just make drones until you have like 80, and then you start making army. But obviously, it's up to hero to try and delay that. So, first Oracle will be available very soon. I like the positioning right there of that Stargate as well, just to make 100% sure that those Oracles get across the map as fast as possible. There is a Spore Crawler coming up, but this is a rather greedy one, right? So there are spotter units out on the map, so Reynor sees the direction that that Oracle is headed into. But you can see these guys are always cutting it very close. Okay, gets one drone. Nice more Spore Crawler movement over there. A little bit of misclicking. Or maybe not so much, but hero didn't want to glide too far forward with that Oracle. So only a single worker up to this point. Normally we see the third hatchery coming up at about... Oh, okay. I was going to say 345, 350 or so. But this explains... Okay, could throw all of that, what I said earlier about mass gateways and all that. Throw that out of the window. Hero decides to spend his money right now on a fleet beacon and a Stargate instead. Now, there was an Overlord still hiding in this, like, triangular position, and it is heading straight towards those tech structures. If Reynor sees those buildings, I think that hero may as well GG out. I mean, maybe that's a little overly dramatic. My god, what's this wall, by the way? That's an abomination and a half. It's got to be very close. Oh my god, he sees it? Oh my god, he sees both. I don't know if he clicked on it in time. But honestly, just seeing 2 tech structures at this point is probably all he really needs to see. So what do we have? Hero is going for a 2-base Tempest rush. Not only that, he's even getting the Tectonic Destabilizers upgrade, which allows these Tempests to deal additional damage to structures. Now, maybe it's a little overly dramatic to call it GG already, but Reynor scouting that at the earliest possible time is amazing for him. Now he's going to have a lot of time to prepare, and I don't know exactly if he saw what was building there, because, well, now... now he sees for sure, because there's a couple Zerglings that made it into the base. Anyways, I was gonna say, we will get confirmation of that in just a moment when he finishes up the lair. Oracle goes down as well. When he finishes up the lair, he'll probably throw down a Spire right away. That's what you need to do here as a Zerg player. And honestly, this is... yeah, this is looking fantastic right now for Reynor. The main problem with Tempest, right, is that if they show up and there's like a bunch of them saved, so normally I think he would save them up here as hero, but I guess he's been spotted, right? So he decides to send them out right away. But if suddenly like 3, 4, 5 of those Tempests show up, you get into the territory to start one-shotting or two-shotting the queens. And obviously at that point, since they have so much range and the oracles can use their revelation, this is one of those builds that can definitely deal a ton of damage. Right now, you've already committed, so I guess you have to, yeah, go down that road. Can't really go into Twilight Council very easily after spending so many resources into this tech route. Anyhow, it's gonna be queens. They'll be sacrificed until eventually the Spire is done. If, however, Reynor wouldn't have spotted that, there's always a chance that he would have delayed his own lair. Maybe he would have favored going for like a 4th hatchery first or something along those lines, although that's not particularly common right now in the meta, but that would have essentially been an auto win because at that point hero could just save up all of these Tempests relatively easily. So queens are being sacrificed, but they're buying time. They don't know it, but they're buying time until the Spire units eventually do come out. How much money does Reynor have? Well, quite a bit. This is not him, like, not macroing. This is him saving up. He wants to smash that piggy bank as soon as possible. Once again, Zerglings get in. Hero. Look, I didn't want to bring up the wall, but, like, this is a disaster, okay? You put that Overlord, or you put that Overlord, you put that Pylon, this Protoss Overlord, I suppose, a little bit too far forward. And because of that, yeah, the wall off is a little bit jacked. Poor Brenda. Oh my god. At least she got a superhero death. Okay, 12 Corruptors are coming up. Soon the Queen's sacrifices will end. Yeah, so I believe it's 5 Tempests to one-shot a full HP Queen. Can you imagine if those units would have been chrono boosted out and then, you know, would have shown up all at once. The hatchery is still alive. We may have seen a lot of dead queens, 8 of them in total, but... oh god. Yeah, no, that is not good. Supply count right now, reflecting the current status of this game as well. Obviously, those Corruptors, they don't really need to stay at home. They can just continuously hunt all of this down. Desperation Adept going into the natural expansion here of Hero. Okay, battery overcharge, not even enough to, yeah, properly keep those units alive, apparently. I mean, he doesn't need to dive this deep, but eventually the Corruptors will indeed be able to kill that. Okay. Obviously, the Corruptors also have an ability called Caustic Spray that allows them to target down structures. So I think that's exactly why there's a couple Stalkers warped in over here, because they were thinking about using their spray ability on that Nexus. Either way, yeah, look at the supply count. Maybe this game, if you, yeah, just look at the amount of bases here that are taken and all that, right? Maybe it looks rather playable, but a 100 supply deficit at the 9-minute mark is not great. Hero is obviously capable of coming back into this game, but it's going to require a very significant error from Reynor. Reynor's going into the infestation pit even, so he's not, yeah, he's not really taking any chances. I don't know if he realizes that he's this far ahead at this point in the game. Anyways, maybe Hero playing himself a little bit as well, right? He is fully aware of the fact that if there's anyone familiar with his playstyle, it's Reynor. So because of that, there's always a chance that, well, maybe a Tempest opener can catch him off guard. Anyhow, there is still the chance that the very first Overlord scout did not actually see those 2 structures. I mean, obviously it did see the structures, but he didn't click on them. Or at least, I don't know if he did, but I didn't, you know, I didn't see the little outline on those structures, so it's hard to tell. So there was always a chance that at that point the Tempest could still be saved up and that they would still be, yeah, showing up uncontested, but when the Zerglings then also ran in, I mean, that is just... Yeah, unfortunate. hero messing up the wall here. Trying his luck in game number 1, but I really don't see a way that he's going to win this game. I mean, I'm talking as if he's already lost. Problem is, Nexus just got puked on as well by those Corruptors. Yeah, no. He's fighting like a champ, though. Right? Like, he's actually making these battles look rather close. It's just that he's still nearly doubled in supply. And I don't see how a Stalker Ball can change the tide of this game. Well, I'd like to believe. Oh my god, if he comes back in this game, I'm gonna lose it. There's no way, right? I guess there's a lot of that supply caught up in those Corruptors, and they're not super useful. There's only 6 of them available, though. And Reynor is also spending his piggy bank right now on going into a hive, and then into a lurker den and all that. So, it's not like Reynor is sitting still on just Ravagers and Zerglings and Roaches and all that. Okay, GG is cold. hero knows it. There's no way he's gonna win this game, so Reynor picks up the first map win. Okay. Our second game for today takes place on the map Inside and Out. hero ended up sending out that probe pretty early. He blocked the Zerg's natural, so Reynor was forced to take his third base first instead. Not a big deal. Obviously, the Zergs play against that all of the time. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, at least we have a proper wall this time around, but I'm still not a massive fan of the pylon, okay? If this was me playing in this game and I'm the Zerg, I'm 1-0 ahead, I am 100% putting down a Baneling Nest, okay? I would want to try and bust through that wall, despite the fact that there's a very good chance that there's going to be more walls. And like, I guess not more walls, but like another layer right behind that wall up as well. Either way, curious to see what Mr. Hero decides to go for. In a way, it's kind of nice, right, to... yeah, see him making a relatively basic error. Is that a robo facility? Oh, it is. Interesting. Okay. So not straight into a Stargate, and also definitely no Twilight Con. So we're going to go robo facility instead. Anyways, it's kind of reassuring, right? If you're playing Zerg and Protoss yourself to see these guys making little mistakes. I believe I saw Reynor hitting a supply block at 36 in the previous game. So that's one of the classics. A lot of Zerg players, myself included, hit, yeah, 36 out of 36 all of the time. Despite the fact that we've pretty much all played thousands of games, for some reason we still run into that issue. And then hero, obviously, yeah, messing up the wall off by misplanting his first pylon. All of those mistakes are easy to make. And it's kind of nice to see that these guys are still human as well. Anyhow, we've got a robo facility opener. One thing that Mr. Hero liked to do when the patch first was new, we actually committed to the main base, was a disruptor drop. I've seen him play disruptor drops a couple months ago. Not so much recently. I think he's gonna go for it. There's the Robo Bay. Observer first, Prism as a follow-up, and then you Chrono Boost out 2 of those disruptors as well. This is a fun build. So maybe Hero is a little bit in his own head. Maybe he's thinking, okay, there's a good chance my opponent knows exactly what I play right now. So because of that, he's gonna also know the exact counter that needs to be executed in order to, well, deal with my playstyle. So therefore, I'm gonna mix it up and play something a little spicier. I liked the idea of the double Tempest opener in that previous game, right? The double Stargate Tempest, but I don't think it was particularly successful now, was it? I mean, obviously the reason why it wasn't successful is because Reynor scouted it, like 3 times. Anyhow. Don't think there's really gonna be a lot of Zerg units moving through this, though. Okay, so there's the Gravitic Drive. That is the Warp Prism speed improvement. So the Prism speed makes it fly a little bit faster. Very nice. He's Chrono Boosting out. You can see it's rallied right there on top of the Prism too. He's Chrono Boosting out one of those Disruptors, and he'll be getting a second one here very shortly as well. Again, though, at this point, Reynor is thinking there should be a third Nexus. I don't really know exactly what's going on here, but there should be a third Nexus. There should also be a second Disruptor. Hello. Needs a little bit of gas. Come on. Ugh. Ugh. Alright. A little bit later than you... yeah, bit of a delay. Not entirely sure why. Maybe he thought he queued it up or something along those lines. Anyway. Yeah, at this point, Reynor's probably wondering where that third Nexus is at and what sort of build he should be concerned with this time around. But you can see there's no lair yet. So if this would have been the timing of the lair in the previous game, I think it would have been a disaster. Then that Spire would be so late. Zerglings are available, though. And they're going to force the Council on the third Nexus. Okay, now the Prism gets spotted, so Reynor should know what he's going up against. Puts down a second Roach Warren. That could be intentional, because he did that... oh my... no, not again! That could be intentional, that he wants to go for... Roach Burrow as well at the same time as Glial Reconstitution? Anyways, we saw the very first purification of us hitting the queens, and this is one of those things that can continuously deal damage, but this is now the third time in like a 10-minute series that we see Zerglings running into the natural. Brenda, no! Whoa. She made a looping over the other queens. She could work in the circus if she wasn't dead. Anyways. Overlords. My god, there's a lot of sloppy mistakes in this game. Yeah, we have a bunch of Overlords YOLOing their way forward. Not really what you want to do. Anyhow, how much damage can really be done, though, by this Disruptor Ball? Okay, so once again, decent detonations, but nothing amazing. And one problem that Protoss is running into at this point is the fact that he is on 2 bases. So despite, yeah, him killing a bunch of drones, killing a bunch of queens, getting some damage done on the other side of the map, and this all being very cost efficient, if he doesn't have a third nexus, what in the world is he gonna do? I think judging by the fact that he's just added on additional gateways, he may very well want to go for some sort of 2-base all-in. A 2-base all-in in 2022 is not common. I mean, it's going to be 4 Disruptors, Stalkers with Blink, and one hell of an army. This can definitely work. Reynor is still making drones. He actually should have stopped making drones at like probably 50. Maybe 55. 63 might actually be cutting it a little bit too close. Maybe he should have spent that money on additional Zerglings instead. Well, we'll find out in just a moment. That could have been 16 additional links. Queens obviously got sniped. And you know what? This may actually very well work out. This looks like a mighty scary Protoss army. Yeah, Purification Nova's getting a lot of work done. There's no +1 melee or anything along those lines. I don't think that the Stalkers really care about small numbers of Zerglings. All 4 Disruptors are still available, and while hero may not have had the perfect control at home, he's doing a great job keeping his units alive, blinking those Stalkers back to safety. Got a feeling we're going to game 3. Yeah, there it is. Apparently today is the day of cheeky Protoss 2-base all-ins. Be it double Stargate Tempest or, well, a Disruptor drop into a... Like, he made a third Nexus in that previous game too, right? That's kind of what threw me off, and probably what threw Reynor off as well. So hero had his third base cancelled once, and he was like, okay, well, that's it. I'm gonna spend all of my money on gateway units instead. I mean, it ended up working for him, but most of the time, I've got a feeling that would be a little bit much. I wonder what that fight would have looked like, though, if Reynor did not overdrone. Obviously, that was a nice little mind game there from hero. Maybe he wasn't planning on mining that third Nexus at all, right? Maybe he just planted down the third Nexus, and he was actually happy that the Zerg player made that many Zerglings to try and force the cancel on it, because he was already planning on going for an all-in. Hero, definitely a cheeky guy. He's called the Smiling Assassin for, yeah, a reason. Not afraid to mix it up and play some very, very tricky build orders. Okay, so what are we going to do in our third game? This is obviously our final map of this series. Do you think hero is going to go for a cheeky game 3 times in a row? I'd be surprised. Stargate, once again. Not too crazy. Oracles, good unit. Phoenixes, good unit. Tempest, eh. I mean, good unit as well, I suppose. Tempests are kind of at the same level as, like, Void Race, okay? They're good, but, like, you know, they're no Phoenixes. There are no Carriers. There are no, yeah, no Oracles. It's just that the Oracle is super nice, right? Oracles are an awesome middle-of-the-road type of approach. You don't have to deal damage. They're still useful later on into the game, too, because of their spellcasting utilities and stuff. You can use them for harassment, and sometimes you're better off sacrificing them just to grab a couple additional drones, but even if you don't deal any damage, Oracles are still great. Plus, since Protoss players really like to go for that super early third, 3 minutes 40 seconds, 3 minutes 50 seconds, right? I mean, we haven't seen it a single time so far today, but since I do generally like making a very quick third Nexus, the Oracle is awesome for that as well, because you can use it to zap away at any of those pesky Zerglings that try to cancel the third. Okay, double Oracle. This is looking normal so far. I'm expecting a probe to move out right about right now. Right about right now. Hero, that was your cue. Right about right. Okay, no. So we'll see what he decides to go for. Could just be a mind game again, right? So that's always an option. That you actually just warp in a couple additional units, you make a few more army units here and there, and then you make the third base, which theoretically is worse, but it might just be throwing Reynor off a little bit, right? So this is a 4-minute third nexus. Why? Because he ended up making an extra oracle. Or, sorry, an extra adept over here. And, well, another oracle as well. Not a huge deal, but, again, a small deviation. And those small changes do make the game trickier to read. I'm expecting a Twilight Council and a Forge here shortly, but... maybe not. You know what? The zoning here is excellent, though. Third Oracle being used to shoo away the Zerglings at the third Nexus. Because that probe was sent out super early in the game and Zerg was once again forced to go for the third base rather than their natural, you can see that the Queens are just not able to defend everything as smoothly. This is now so much damage being done. Oracle's still going back and forth as well. 7 workers is not bad at all. Yeah, 7 workers for 2 adepts. Oracle's still at pretty much full HP. I mean, one of them apparently did lose like 12 of his hull damage, but... or hull health rather, but it's... yeah, not a bad situation at all. That one Oracle didn't activate Pulsar Beam yet, so it's got a lot of energy. It can zap away against these Zerglings, and that's exactly what he wants right now, yeah. It takes energy to activate the Pulsar Beam. So, Reynor attacking with the Zerglings just to try and be a nuisance. Try to force some energy away from this. Okay, now we have a Baneling Nest coming up, but honestly, hero once again showing up with a couple of those units unscouted, it seems. This is really starting to hurt. Like, this is not looking clean here for Reynor at all. You can lose a bunch of drones, that's fine. Especially if you get the... but 14 is too many. Couple options right now for Reynor. He could go for an all-in as a follow-up, which I don't think is a bad idea. Or he could cut a corner and cross his fingers and hope that the Protoss is not going to attack. Well, there's the blink. There's the +1 ground weapons. I think that Reynor may very well be thrown off a little bit after those first 2 games. He saw the builds that were being played. Because of that, he's making small errors right now in this game. Either that or he just, you know, isn't feeling it 100% in this situation right now, but... nah. Oh, it really hurts, man. Those drones getting stuck there between the Queens and the mineral fields as well. 5 additional drones end up going down. 1 goes in the main. I think we're going to see another one. Yep. Okay. Eventually it's killed, but that's 20 drones now. That's a lot. And keep in mind, the follow-up here from hero is what we're really concerned for right now if we're the Zerg. The follow-up here is going to be Blink Stalkers with +1. This is just the first section of them, okay? There's going to be a lot more. Obviously, while Zerg is putting out about a gajillion fires, he's not doing as good a job spreading creep. I mean, there's this one tumor over here. That's looking really nice. But I'm a little bit concerned for this section of the map. If you're going to take this as your 4th, all of this needs to be creeped up by the time that those Stalkers arrive, and we're not there yet. Anyways, at the same time, okay, once again, my god, this is not the highest level series that I'm casting this week at the very least. It's... there's a lot of mistakes actually being made, considering that these guys are at an insanely high level. A little bit of a clown fiesta in this game right now. Okay, well, Stalkers will create a wall over there, so those Lings will be destroyed. Oracles now clean up the Lings over here, but that is 13 probes going down in total. These guys just became next-door neighbors, although I don't think they're realizing it just yet. Okay, Stalkers being warped in. Oracles almost out of energy, but still a little bit of energy remaining to kill the last of those Lings. More Zerglings, though, just run through the open wall. Anyways, workers ended up going down. But hero is more than happy to go all in. I think that's exactly what he's, well, maybe looking for right now. He wants to deal critical amounts of damage, that's for sure. He's got a 4th Nexus, that's nice and all, but he hasn't really added on a lot of workers here in a while. I say that and he starts up probes. Classic. Anyway, he just ended up sniping that hatchery here of the Zerg. +1 melee on these Zerglings, which explains why they're back in such a punch. Charge is finishing up in just a moment as well, though, and that's why those Banelings are going to be super important. I just don't see enough army here for Zerg. Yeah, this is what happens when you lose that many drones, when you lose the hatchery. He's got minerals in the bank, but no larva to spend it on because he ended up losing that hatchery just now. The stalkers are moving forward, and I've got a feeling that this is GG right here, right now. Hero ends up overwhelming that Zerg army. Maybe there's a couple probes going down. Maybe there was like a little bit of a bailing roll by, but none of that matters. It's Hero who obtains the victory over Reynor 2-1.